Namaste, everybody.
Namaste, sir.
Shilpa, we can do the prayer if you don't mind.
Yes, yes. Close your eyes. We'll start with three Omkaras. Om. 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 गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम ओम श्री विश्वेश्वराय नमः ओम श्री विश्वेश्वराय नमः ओम श्री विश्वेश्वराय नमः ओम श्री ऋषि प्रभाकराय नमः ओम श्री ऋषि प्रभाकराय नमः ओम श्री ऋषि प्रभाकराय नमः Welcome everyone. Yes, Chandan.
Namaskar, Shilpa, and all of my friends. Such a pleasure to be with you once again. So, on Saturday, 2 days ago, we talked about Pratyahar, and Pratyahar is anti Ahar. So, we have to not consume. But at the end, we contemplated that this Swadhyaya we are doing, the study of the self, about this Swadhyaya, there should be no stinginess. We should do this Swadhyaya as much as we can. We should not think that we've had enough. There should be no santosh in Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya should be done as much as we can. For Swadhyaya, there is no pratyahar. All right. So I'm glad all of you wanted to come and do a follow-up session on the pratyahar we discussed 2 days ago. So what I will do is I'll quickly recap what we discussed. So we talked about, the overall purpose of life. The overall purpose of life is to be happy at all times, right? That happiness we try to find through temporary pleasures, or we'll try to find through money, fame, power. After we realize that those two things don't provide us lasting happiness, then we try to find out where we can get it. We also talked about 4 different misconceptions we have, mistaken notions. One notion is about who am I? The second notion is what is this world? The third notion is who created this world? Most people think that God created this world. So who is God? We don't know. And then how to live? What is the way to live? What is the spiritual practice? To understand all these things clearly. Because if you understand something clearly, then it is easy to deal with it. For example, all of us must have touched something hot when we were children. Does that mean we develop an aversion for heat or Agni? No. We just understand its nature and we understand and figure out how to deal with it. That's all. So these are the kinds of notions we have from the very beginning all the way to the end. And we never really question, we never really examine. To understand the meaning, to understand the answers to all of these questions, contemplation is necessary. And we have to learn from our everyday experience. There is no reason to believe anything or anybody. Whatever I tell you, you don't have to believe. Even if I may be telling you the truth, until you have experienced it, it's a nice chat or a nice talk. You heard some nice words, but it's not the truth for you yet because you have not experienced it yet. So there is no reason for you to believe me or believe anybody for that matter. You should believe only your experience. Then you should try to figure out whether your measuring device is okay or not. See, if you want to experience something, then you will experience it with some kind of device, upakaran. So whether that device is properly calibrated or not, that you need to figure out. If the device is properly calibrated, it will give you the proper answer. Otherwise, it will not. So for example, in Pune, ordinary tea is named as Amruta Tulya, means equivalent to nectar. How can tea be equivalent to nectar? You will learn only if you live in Pune or go to Pune. Otherwise, everybody else drinks only tea, right? Doesn't matter how sweet that tea is, Amruta Tulya. If you eat a spoonful of sugar before you drink the Amruta Tulya tea, regardless of how sweet it is, you will still not taste the sweetness. You will taste the bitterness of the tea. Why? Because you will have reset the zero of your sweet tasting apparatus. That is the problem. See, if we go out, or if I go out walking on the busy streets in Mumbai or Pune right now with a white shirt like this, by the time I come home, the shirt will become dirty just by virtue of walking on the street because there is so much dust and exhaust from the cars and things like that, right? But if I'm a mechanic and I'm wearing my mechanic's clothes after having worked all day long in my garage, will I be afraid of that? If I go on the street and come home, there will be no appreciable difference in my clothes. That's how it is. So if the sensitivity of the measuring instrument is not calibrated properly, if the measuring instrument is not calibrated properly, then the measurement will not be correct. If I want to measure, say, 1 gram or 1.5 grams worth of powder, I will have to measure it on a chemical balance in the laboratory. Okay. But if I want to weigh an elephant, I cannot use that balance. That balance will get crushed underneath the elephant's weight, isn't it? So to weigh the elephant, I have to go to the Dharamkata where the trucks are weighed. Only then can I accurately weigh the elephant, isn't it? You see, behind me there is a picture of a large butterfly. These are called the monarch butterflies. These monarch butterflies go from Mexico to someplace way north in America. But the same butterfly which takes off from Mexico does not reach North America. The fourth generation reaches North America. Just imagine. How do these butterflies know how to go? This entire path is genetically imprinted in this species. That's what happens. Okay. So actually, I wanted to explain to you what this butterfly was, but the example I wanted to give was different. The example I wanted to give is from this angle, from where my laptop camera is, and the wall is about, so many feet back. You can see a nice perspective, and you know what that is, right? If you go very close to that picture, what will you see? You will not see the butterfly, isn't it? What we see depends upon not what it is, but depends upon our perspective. That's what happens. So right now, your experience is you are seeing my face on the screen, isn't it? What is happening is you are only seeing a shape and some colors. That's all you are seeing. And when that image is recorded or perceived in the mind, then to that image, you give a projection, or within your mind, or your mind projects on that image Vikramness. Okay. So you say that, okay, this is Vikram. The image doesn't tell you that I'm Vikram. All you are perceiving is a shape and some colors. That's all. Okay. If you don't know my name, that's okay. You will see that, okay, there seems to be a man who's wearing a white shirt who is on the screen. That's all. But the man and the white shirt is in your mind. Your eyes are not telling you that. Eyes are only telling you the shape and the color. World appears to us not the way the world is, but the way we are and where we are standing. That's how the world appears to us. If that perspective is corrected, if we ensure that that perspective is always correct, only then will we get the proper understanding of what it is. All right. To understand this, our measuring instrument has to be clear. So the sense organs will only tell us what they perceive. So for example, eyes will only tell us about the colors and the shapes. Ears will tell us about sounds. So all these five senses will tell us what the world is like in terms of five different sensations. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. All we are perceiving is the experience that happens in our mind when the respective sense organ and the respective sense object come together. Unless they come together, the experience doesn't happen at all. So the example we saw the other day was, if I want to eat something, that food is on my plate. Just by looking at that food, my hunger will not be satiated, right? Only when that food is tasted by the tongue will I even know the taste of it. By looking at it, I won't know the taste. If it is a food item, I will have to taste it first. See, I often tell my American friends or anybody I have talked to about this subject is, in India, we eat with five different senses. The food has to really look good. It has to look appealing, right? Then it has to smell good. Of course, it has to smell good. Thirdly, it has to feel good. So when you touch it, it has to feel good. Fourthly, it has to taste good. And in India, it has to sound good also. So any accomplished cook, our mother, grandmother, anybody, if you go see how they cook, the first thing they do is they heat the oil in the pan and they add some seeds to it, and the seeds will pop. That popping sound is wonderful to the ears of the cook. In Nagpur, where I'm from, one of the delicacies is called vada bhat. That vada bhat is eaten like this. So you take the bhat, the rice, which has to be not very soft and mushy. It has to be as if each rice grain is separate, even after cooking. Okay, so it has to be completely almost dry. It's cooked in a certain manner. Okay, there is a way to cook the rice in that manner. You cook the rice so that it is rather dry, and you crush the vada made out of all kinds of dal on it, and then on top of it you have to add hot oil with all these seeds, and then it will sound like a sizzler. So the food is consumed by all five senses, right? Once that food is tasted by the tongue, if that food is not good, see, before you put the food on the tongue, you it has to pass these four other tests. Okay, so if the food passes these four tests, then the fifth test is the taste. So if it tastes funny, then you will not eat it. Or, so for example, in Nagpur, most people eat really hot food, very spicy. All right, so the food will pass four tests as far as I'm concerned. But then the fifth test, when I eat it, it will be too hot for my taste. So then it will not pass my test. So I'm not used to eating hot food in spite of being from Nagpur. And I will maybe eat one morsel, and thereafter I will say, no, it's too hot for me, so I will not eat it, because otherwise it will bother me, right? So that's how our sense organs are supposed to tell us whether whatever I'm consuming is good for me or not. To that extent, if I use my sense organs, it's okay. And in fact, that is all the sense organs are supposed to do. If we utilize the sense organs for any purpose other than that, or anything more than that, then the sensitivity of these sense organs is readjusted. Means instead of white shirt, my shirt becomes so dirty that I'm unable to figure out the pollution in the air and the pollution from the exhaust of the cars. That's what happens. Unfortunately, this is our general story. We have utilized our sense organs for entertainment to such a large extent that the sense organs are unable to tell us whether what they are consuming or what our body is consuming is good for us or not. We have utilized the sense organs for, in English, the word is called titillation. Titillation means excitement. If we use our sense organs in this manner, then those sense organs will lose their sensitivity. And we will need stronger and stronger titillation to get the same kind of excitement. That's what happens. If we don't do that, if we utilize the sense organs only to the extent they are necessary, only to tell us that this particular thing is good for me and this particular thing is not so good for me, then our sense organs will remain sharp until the very end of our life. All right. And then we will understand what this world is accurately. Over time, we will understand that the sense object and the sense organ are actually relative to each other. The experience of any sense object cannot be accomplished unless the sense object and the sense organ come together. So, for example, if I'm blind, then for me, the world will be experienced only as Shabda, Sparsha, Rasa, and Gandha. There will be no Rupa because I don't have any eyesight. If I'm deaf, then I will be experiencing the world without the sounds. That's what will happen. So then if I have to describe the world, I will describe it only in 4 different characteristics, or using 4 different characteristics. That's what will happen. Therefore, we need to make sure that the sense organs are sensitive. Once we, again going back, sense organs and sense objects are relative to each other. Neither can, the reality of neither can be established by, unless the other is also present. So if I have hearing capability, but there is no sound, the experience of hearing will not happen. If I can taste, but there is no food, and the food is not on my tongue, the experience of taste will not happen, isn't it? So what has happened? Although there was a dvaita, or a duality between the sense organ and the sense object, unless that duality was removed and unless non-duality was established, experience could not happen, isn't it? Now just think and analyze your own experience. Any and all experiences are happening to us only when the sense or organ and the sense object come in contact with each other, and there is an advaita of the sense object and the sense organ. So experience happens only in advaita. Experience does not happen in dvaita. Unless the advaita is established, experience doesn't happen. After the experience happens, in our mind, we project it as dvaita. Even though you are seeing me on your screen, I'm not entering your mind the way I am. I'm not even entering your eyes the way I am. Not even my image on your screen is entering the way it is in your eyes. Only an image is being formed in your eyes, isn't it? If something were to go, if I'm looking at this phone, if this phone were to go into my eyes would become blind, isn't it? So the world doesn't really enter us as it is. The world enters us only as images, only as sensations. Those sensations are felt, you know, in our brain. So my picture is radiating some light rays. Those rays are getting into your eyes. Within the eyes, an image is formed, and that image is being read by the vision center. So all you're experiencing is some chemical imbalance or some chemical sensation within your brain. Through your mind, you are projecting that as Vikram is talking to me. Right? The whole world is experienced in exactly this manner. All of the experience of the world is happening within us. It's not happening outside at all. Think. Very, very clear, very, very obvious. Once we understand this, then what will we do? We will try to figure out how this whole experience can be enhanced. Okay. Now, we want to always have a pleasant experience, and we want to avoid unpleasant experience, right? We do all kinds of things for that. So, as children will steal cookies or chocolates from the kitchen or from wherever, within the house, of course. When we grow up, when we are teenagers, different things will attract us. When we are young adults, different things will attract us. And then when we are slightly more mature adults, different things will attract us, right? But what we do is we try to chase things which we like. We try to acquire those things because we think that after acquiring those things, when those things and our sense organs or our mind have an advait, then we have an experience of joy or happiness, right? And we want to repeat it all the time. So that's what we keep on doing at all times, right? The trouble is anything that is limited in time space will provide us happiness limited in time space. If we want to have that experience continuously without the limitation of time and place, then we will have to figure out where it is. And see, our entire life is spent looking for things outside. So we try to find this joy outside. We think that the one who is providing me the joy is God. So I also try to look for God outside. That's how our life's pursuits are usually. The people who are tired of trying, and not succeeding will try to go to some temple or some guru, and they will prostrate before the guru, and they will ask for boons. So normally 99% of the people who go to the temple want to go and pray. And what is the prayer? Hey Bhagwan, oh Lord, I'm surrendered to you. I have such and such wish. Kindly grant me that wish. Okay. Now, if I'm God, I get all kinds of such applications, right? So who will I please? So one girl will come and she will say, God, my mother-in-law is troubling me. So why don't you take her away and keep her with you? That will be good for me. But the trouble is, the mother-in-law has her own daughter. She goes and prays to the same God. Oh God, I love my mother. Why don't you give her a long life? I would love to keep her for a long time. Now, in this case of conflict, what will the God do? Too much trouble, isn't it? So, God doesn't interfere in such mundane things. Okay. What He tells us, or what He has told us in the Bhagavad Gita, is we are responsible for our own actions. Whatever we do, the results of that action will be accrued to us, will be either enjoyed by us or will be suffered by us. So if we do proper action, then the result will be good, it will be pleasant, and that pleasure we will enjoy. If we undertake an improper action, then the result will be bad and we will suffer the consequences of the bad action. So that is called punya and papa, merit and sin. In everyday language, it will be proper action and improper action. The word sin actually means error. It doesn't have any moral connotations. The literary meaning of the word sin is an error. So if I want to hit a target and if I miss the target, then it's a sin. Sin in the sense I have missed the target. It's an error. That's all sin means. If we do not get the proper result of any action, then we have to go back and examine whether that action was proper or not, whether the experiment was conducted properly or not. If the experiment was not conducted properly, then we redo the experiment. We conduct it properly. We figure out how other scientists have done that experiment. If we follow that protocol properly, then we will get the same result. Or if we want to find out something new, then we undertake the action or undertake the experiment with a certain protocol. That protocol is repeatable. So if we repeat that protocol 2 or 3 or 4 times and we get the same result, then we will figure out the actual meaning of that experiment. We will establish the cause and effect relationship. That is what will happen. If we don't get proper results in our life, then we try to figure out what we may have done wrong, right? So first we try on our own. If we don't succeed, then we try to find some guru, or we go to God, go to the temple and try to figure these things out. Even then, when it doesn't work, then we try to figure out what might be the reason for this. Then we start looking inwards. After we've exhausted all possibilities, then we start questioning. When we start questioning, that is when a spiritual seeker is born. Until then, there is a sansari, there is a grihastha, there is a bhakta, and then the spiritual seeker is born. So once that spiritual seeking is started, that's when we try to figure out what are the ways in which we could prepare our mind for understanding these things. So we looked at 4 different aspects of how to prepare ourselves. One is, I don't remember whether I spoke about this on Saturday or not, but there are 4 aspects of making sure our mind is ready for this. So we talked about the Ashtanga yoga, we talked about the 8 different limbs of yoga. And one of my good friends suggested to me that you should not talk about them as steps, you should talk about them as limbs, because it doesn't really matter which step you take first. In a way, that's correct. And I explained to him that all these 8 limbs of yoga are like 8 gears in the big machine. So it doesn't matter which wheel you catch and which wheel you rotate, the other wheels will start moving. In my case, I started my practice from Pratyahara. So not consuming more than necessary. And because of that, my asanas became easier. Pranayam not even required. It happens all the time. It's as easy as breathing. Energies are always balanced. Nadi is always balanced. Yama and Niyam started happening better, more easily. Yama and Niyam became Sahaj. That's what started happening to me. Okay. But for most people who are engaged in worldly activities, if they regulate the worldly activities through Yama and Niyam, then the Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi, they become easier. That is why Patanjali has described them in that order. Because for a general population, for most people, that is the case. And in fact, even for us who may be at different locations on their spiritual path, we must have done this sadhana in a previous body. Surely. Otherwise, we will not even be interested in this kind of topic or this kind of satsanga, isn't it? We have done a lot of things. So even the very first verse in the Yoga Sutra is what? Atha Yoganushasanam. And now yoga. Because we've tried all kinds of things, right? So we don't really know what kind of things we might have done. So for example, if you look at the life of Santa Gyaneshwar, he lived only for 21 years. So he must have done all kinds of sadhana before he appeared in the body of Gyaneshwar, right? That is why as a teenager, he was completely realized. As a teenager, he was able to translate the Gita. Gita is only 700 verses. This fellow wrote 9,000 verses. How can this brilliance be possible? How is this possible? Must have done some sadhana beforehand, isn't it? So that is the thing. If we do this sadhana the way it is described, if we have done nothing, then I think it is better to do yam, niyam, asana, pranayam like that. If not, do whatever is easiest for you. Pick that up. Try to turn that wheel. Other wheels will start getting turned automatically. That's how it is. If we do that, if we do the pratyahar, if we consume only as necessary, if we never overconsume, then our measurement devices, our sense organs, and our mind will remain sharp. And then we will be able to figure things out the way we need to figure them out. Then they won't bother us. Then we will understand that this world, the way it appears to us, is not outside. It's all within us. Then the spiritual sadhana starts. So this yoga path was to control our mind, right? Then the further spiritual sadhana on Advaita is 4 different steps. One is Vivek. Vivek means discrimination. Discrimination means what is real and what is not real. That discrimination, to be able to do the discrimination, this mental discipline which comes through the Ashtanga Yoga is necessary. Vivek. Second is Vairagya. Vairagya means whatever is not real, I'm not interested in that at all. Whatever is real, I'm going to hold on to that. That is Vairagya. Third is Shataka Sampatti. There are 6 different characteristics or attributes. Sampatti means wealth. We have to acquire and earn those 6 things. So one is Shama. Shama is control of mind, which hopefully we have done through the yoga practice. Dhamma means control over sense organs, which is done through Pratyahara and Brahmacharya. Okay. Then Titiksha means forbearance. Bad things will happen. This corona is happening right now. We can do nothing about it, right? So we have to basically bear with it. Titiksha. Then uparati. Uparati means, the word uparati means, upa means above. The word upper must have come through upa. Rati means enjoying or staying. So you start enjoying staying above the worldly things, material things. So rising above material things is uparati. So we talked about shama, dama, titiksha, uparati, then shraddha. Shraddha means faith. Faith in what the Guru has told us and faith in what the scriptures have told us. So right now, I may not understand or I may not know what the scriptures have told me because I'm not wise enough or mature enough to understand what the scriptures are telling me. But I will take it that the scriptures are telling me the truth and I will figure it out over time. This we do even in our school. So when we go and study mathematics, the teachers will teach us what mathematics, whatever mathematics we are learning, isn't it? Depending upon which grade we are in. We don't understand it the first lecture, but over time we understand, right? The teacher will teach us. So we have to have faith in that teacher, even in the 5th standard teacher. So why not have faith in masters like Shankaracharya and Dhaneshwar Maharaj and Ramdas Swami, Tukaram Maharaj, all these saints? Why should we not trust them? Then the last thing is samadhan. Samadhan means santosh. We talked about santosh in the Ashtanga Yoga, right? Samadhan. So when I have these 6 things, then Vivek, Vairagya, these 6 things, and then the 4th thing is mumukshutva. Mumukshutva means I have a very strong desire and an urge for freedom. These 4 things if I have, then I will be prepared to understand what the Upanishads have to tell us, what Advaita has to teach us. Okay. So all of you who are here hopefully have some of these qualities in some proportion or the other. Many of you may have these qualities 100%. I don't even know. Whether I have these qualities or not, I have to figure out myself. I have to work on them myself. All I have to do is to keep working on that cleaning process. So when I operate in the world, I operate in the world so that that work will help me clear my mind. So karma has to be done to clear the mind. Then the mind has to be disciplined through Ashtanga Yoga. In that disciplined mind, we can now put that mind towards one single object or focus. So that focus could be on a deity if you want, or it could be on a mantra if you want, or it could be on the study of the self, dharana. And then the 4th thing is, once we keep on doing this, you won't even know when you will become or how you will become totally free. So I always tell, or many times I have told in the past, that this joy of being totally free is like this butterfly. If you want to chase the butterfly, it will run away. But when you sit still, then the butterfly will come and land on your shoulder. So I wish and hope and pray that the butterfly of joy, of freedom, total freedom, will simply come and land on your shoulders while we are in this body. I've spoken for almost 40 minutes once again. I was hoping to speak for much shorter duration, but I'll stop here and I'll take any questions you may have. So go ahead. Unmute yourself and ask. Namaskar, Vasudha.
Thank you. Enlightened झाले मी.
अरे बापरे, असं नका बोलू.
इतकं सुंदर तुम्ही समजावलं. मी ऍक्च्युली शनिवारी मिस केलं तुमचं.
तर शनिवारचं आपलं रेकॉर्डिंग अवेलेबल आहे ना?
अच्छा, मी बघीन. म्हणजे आज मला मेसेज मिळाला आणि सडनली मी डिसाइड केलं. मी सियाटल मध्ये आहे आणि
वा.
बरं म्हणजे पटकन मी मेसेज बघितला, म्हटलं या व्हेरी नाईस.
Thank you. I'm so delighted you could join.
Thank you.
Anandai. So what we will do is at the end of this session, once I close this meeting, then it gets recorded on my computer automatically. So once it is recorded, then I'll upload that on YouTube. It takes 5 minutes. So this will also be available. This is great. So शिल्पा बघा कसं असतं आपला संकल्प शुद्धी असली की कुठून कोण येतं आपल्या आयुष्यात आपण नाही सांगू शकत. असे अनुभव येतात न मागता. Once we go to the temple, if we don't ask for anything, just stay there in the temple and pray to God, whoever the deity is, ki I want you in my life. Then Yogakshema Vahamyam, Yogakshemam Vahamyam, he will figure out what is good for you and he will give you that. So the path of bhakti is like this. The path of bhakti is whatever you do it for the deity you have. Whether it is Krishna, whether it is Ram, whether it is any other deity of your choice, that's okay. Our focus is on that deity. Our focus never wavers. But how to focus? You have to have that mind. See, that is why even in the Gita, it goes step by step. Initially, we are all in Deha Buddhi, right? We are all thinking that I am this body, I am within the body, and outside is the world. So then do something with the body. But if I keep doing something with the body to please myself, to please the 5 senses, then those sense organs become insensitive. Then those sense organs become like the clothes of the mechanic. Whereas the sense organs have to remain clean and clear like this shirt. So if we use those sense organs only to the extent they are necessary, pratyahar, brahmacharya, both of them are synonymous. If we do that, then they become or they remain very sensitive. And then the experience of life is completely crystal clear. And then all of these things, what I have told you, of course, I have studied and from masters and from the talks I hear and all that. But all of these things are understood, internalized, experienced every day, every moment. And whatever I have told you is my own experience, my own contemplation. It's not read in some books. I don't have to refer to some book to tell you what I'm telling you right now because it has been internalized. So if we do that, then the experience of life is phenomenal. Phenomenal. You're always in joy and you are sharing that joy with people rather than I will be happy after I do this satsanga. No. Because I'm happy, I'm doing this satsanga. That's what happens. So Vasudhatai, thank you so much for joining. It's wonderful to see you.
It was coming from heart, really. I could relate. Very good.
I think I should tell you the story which I told in the first one. It is worth repeating. If the speaker or the teacher is boring, then we feel like taking a piece of paper, making a ball and throwing at him, right? In one of my classes, this actually used to happen. When I studied at Virginia Tech, our microbiology professor used to have a class at 9 o'clock Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the winter. Who is going to get up in the winter, in the cold winters and go to the class at 9 o'clock? Most of my friends used to be quite drowsy. So just to wake those people up, the professor used to actually tell a joke before starting the class. And some of those jokes used to be so poor that the kids would actually throw balls of paper at him because this was a tradition. So the kids in the class would have learned from previous classes that this is how it happens. So this professor was totally bald. All right. So one day he told a joke. He said that yesterday when I went home, my wife was laughing and laughing and laughing. And I said, why are you laughing? She said, I just read a joke. I said, what is the joke? She said, the people who are bald in the front, they are extremely intelligent. So the professor was very happy. He said, yeah, that's wonderful. That's great because I'm bald in the front, right? Then she said, the people who are bald at back, they are thinkers. Oh, he was even more happy. He says, wow, I'm intelligent and I'm also a thinker. That's exactly me. Great. Then she said, but why are you still laughing? He says, no, no, no. The people who are barred both in the front and the back, they just think they are intelligent. That's why she's laughing. So then what will the kids do? They will, of course, take the paper balls and hit him, isn't it? Now, if you write on that piece of paper, STONE, stone, then you make the ball and then you hit the professor. Will the ball hit the professor? No. So initially also the paper ball did not hurt the professor. Even after you wrote STONE on it, even then the ball did not hit the professor or hurt the professor. But now if you actually wrap a stone in that piece of paper and then you throw that stone at the professor, then his head will hurt, right? What has happened? The word and the meaning of the word, they became one. That is why the word had the power to actually create an impression. So Vasudha Tai, the answer to your question is, my words will create an impression on you only if those words have the weight of my own experience behind them. And also if those words have transformed me, only then those words will transform you. Because before you hear what I'm saying, I hear what I'm saying. So if those words have not changed me, if I have not learned from them, तुमच्यावर काय दगड परिणाम पडेल? काही होणार नाही, राईट? मी आपलं पेपर बॉल्स करून मारत राहीन, तुमच्यावर काही परिणाम होणार नाही. This is exactly what happens in our college, because the lecturer will read some book and he will teach, and we think की आपण सिनेमाला जाऊया, let's bunk this class and go watch a movie because the professor is so boring. आणि भारतामध्ये असं कागदाचे बोळे वगैरे करून मारायची सोय पण नाही ना, तो प्रोफेसर तुम्हाला धरून पिटेल. मग इथे कसं की दिस वॉज अ ट्रेडिशन, दिस वॉज अ जोक, अँड इट वॉज टेकन व्हेरी लाईटली, अँड इट वॉज सो वंडरफुल. म्हणजे आय एन्जॉयड दॅट क्लास व्हेरी मच. That professor was one of my favorite professors. He was great. So this is how learning was so much fun. I learned microbiology in his class, and that microbiology has stayed with me even now to this date. And now what I have learned from that microbiology is that single-celled organism metabolizes food in exactly the same manner we do. So the mitochondrial metabolism of glucose to carbon dioxide to create energy which animates us, that entire process is same in E. coli, the single-celled organism, and Homo sapiens. ह्या डायजेशन प्रोसेसला भगवंतानी नाव दिलंय वैश्वानर. 14व्या श्लोकात म्हणतात 15व्या अध्यायाच्या गीतेमध्ये, अहम वैश्वानरो भूत्वा प्राणिनां देहमाश्रितः प्राणापानसमायुक्तः पचाम्यन्नं चतुर्विधम, असं म्हणतात. म्हणजे काय की becoming the Vaishwanar in your stomach or in every organism's belly, I digest 4 different kinds of food. तर 4 different kinds of food कुठले असतात आपल्या आहारामध्ये? प्रोटीन्स असतात, कार्बोहायड्रेट्स असतात, फॅट्स असतात, मिनरल्स असतात. So these 4 kinds of foods Bhagavanta is digesting, not only in my stomach but also in E. coli. At that level, life is the same. The expression of life is the same. In our case, we are able to know who we are. No other life form is capable of knowing who they are. That is the difference between the human beings and any other organisms. So while we are in this body, while we are experiencing life in this body, it is our sacred duty to realize who we are. If not, then we will have wasted a golden opportunity. But we never know whether we will have this experience again or not. Who knows? While we are in this experience, realize who we are. Once we realize who we are, then there is no coming back. Then you graduate. Otherwise, nature is extremely benevolent and kind. It will give you infinite chances. पण आपल्याला त्याच वर्गात राहायचं आहे की ग्रॅज्युएट व्हायचं हे आपण ठरवायचं. आय होप इट मेक सेन्स. एनी अदर क्वेश्चन्स? शिल्पा, आपण इतक्या आनंदात आहोत हे सगळं ऐकून.
करेक्ट सर, एकदम. अजित जींना होता काहीतरी प्रश्न.
Go ahead.
अजित जी can ask.
अजित,
अजित जी, you there?
आणखी
Sir,
कोणीतरी आता एक हात दाखवला ना, बोट दाखवलं, मला त्यांचं नाव लक्षात नाही आलं. एनिवे,
sir,
तो गो हेड.
नमस्कार.
आय थिंक अजित जी.
शंकर पै.
कोण बोलतंय?
शंकर पै.
बरं बरं, बोला.
हा बोलू का?
अवश्य,
हा, आवाज येतो का?
चांगला आहे, बोला.
आता आपण जे म्हटलं आणि प्लस बिकमिंग अ वर्ल्डी एज वेल एज बिकमिंग स्पिरिच्युअल, हाऊ यू कंबाईन बोथ?
बिकमिंग वर्ल्डली एज वेल एज स्पिरिच्युअल.
आता तुम्ही जे आपण जे आता शिकलो, दॅट इज मोर ऑफ अ स्पिरिच्युअल.
Correct. Understand. If we understand our spiritual nature, if we understand who we are, then we are able to operate in the world better. We are more efficient in operating in the world. That is what my experience has been. So we understand that our role in the world is only a role. So we play that role as best as we can and not be attached to that role. That is what will happen. So nature has given me a certain role, right? That role also changes. Huh? So you heard of the Varnashram Paddhati, right? So Varna means 4 different characteristics of people. Varna does not mean Jati, by the way. Jati means which species I belong to. That is called Jati. So we all belong to one Jati. We are Manushya Jati. Okay. There is no Anusuchit Jati and Anusuchit Jamati. That is all on paper. That is all notional. The reality is we are Manushya Jati. Okay. And these Manushya Jati organisms can be characterized in 4 different ways. One is called Brahmana. Brahmana is the kind of person who is interested in spiritual pursuit, who is interested in knowledge, who is calm and quiet, who is not affected by things happening in the world to the extent some other people might be. Okay. So it indicates peace, equilibrium, non-attachment, not coveting, things like that. Okay, these qualities are predominant in the Brahman or Brahmin. The second kind of person is the go-getter, the worldly kind of person who wants to get something, right? So that person will fight. That person will want to get something. That person will have to want to have control over people and things like that. So those kinds of people will become administrator, rulers, soldiers, military. Those are the Kshatriyas. And the third category is they want to make sure that our daily activities and our life is conducted comfortably, and but they will have a profit motive. So whenever I do something for you, you do something in return for me. So that kind of mentality is called Vaishya. And the fourth doesn't want to really exert too much pressure on their brain and want to follow whatever other people are saying and wants to do things as other people are telling us. So that is called Shudra. It's not that one is superior to the other. Okay, these are just different kinds of people or different characteristics we all have within us. By the way, we are all like that. At some point of the day, we will be Brahman. Like right now, we are all Brahmins. We are all trying to learn this, right? At some other point, we will be Kshatriyas because we will try to protect ourselves. Even if we don't want to, our body will try to protect itself. See, our body is bombarded by microorganisms, pathogens all the time. But our body keeps protecting itself through the immune system, isn't it? So our body is behaving like a Kshatriya, even if we may be in a Brahminical pursuit, Kshatriya. Then we are always in some kind of transaction all the time, some kind of dynamism. We all have to do something to bring food on the plate, right? So that activity, if I do something and then somebody gives me something in return, then I'm a Vaishya. So everybody who goes to work and gets paid at the end of the month is a Vaishya. The true Brahmin does not ask for money. The true Brahmin does not even save money. The true Brahmin every morning will go and do his daily work. At the end of the day, he will eat from whatever he has been given, not earned. So the true Brahmin will go and perform all kinds of duties or rituals and things like that. And whatever the Yajman will give him, he will bring it home. They will eat. Not supposed to save anything. Next day, new account. That's how the Brahmin was supposed to live. In today's world, the Brahmin may save whatever is required for retirement or whatever, but then never be attached to it. Never think that that belongs to me. It is something that has been provided to me by my destiny and by God's grace. Utilize whatever we require from that only to the extent it is necessary. Even if I have a fancy 5-star meal in front of me, I will only eat what I really want and what I really need, not want, what I really need. Okay. So Vaishya and then Shudra. Shudra means every morning when we get up, don't we go to the toilet and clean our backside? That cleaning up process is the Vaishya's, Shudra's duty, isn't it? When we do it to ourselves, we don't feel bad about it, or we don't even think about it. But just think if you have to clean somebody else's backside, isn't it? So we are all Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra within ourselves. These 4 things are not outside. Depending upon what is required at whatever time, we will undertake that, we will execute that. That is what we will do. Okay. And the 4 ashramas. So when we are children, we'll study. When we are adults, we will run the household. When we are slightly older, we'll do these kind of things. When we are beyond that, then we will renounce everything. So depending upon where we are, our worldly duty may change, and we should undertake, we should fulfill, we should execute that duty without getting entangled in it, but do it to the best of our ability. So we are doing our daily life like the actor is acting on the stage. The actor wants to act on the stage as best as he can, but he will never forget who he is. I'll tell you a story of that. So there was this actor in Rajasthan. In Rajasthan, just like in Uttar Pradesh, there is Ram Leela and Krishna Leela. In Ayodhya, there is Ram Leela, and in Vrindavan, there is Krishna Leela, right? So in Rajasthan, there is a story just like that on Maharana Pratap. So this fellow who was playing Maharana Pratap day in and day out, over time, he started behaving like Maharana Pratap and he started thinking of himself as Maharana Pratap, right? So after one evening show, late night, this Maharana Pratap was so much in his Maharana Pratap mode that he did not want to undress and take his dress out and then put on his ordinary clothes and go home. So the stage boy, he said, Maharaj, अब ये नाटक खत्म हो गया है, आप अपना ड्रेस चेंज करके घर जाओ. So you change your dress and go home. But this Maharaj or Maharana was in that Maharana mode. He says, who are you to tell me I'm Maharana? You cannot tell me, you cannot order me like this. I'm Maharana. So then the little boy is scared and he just says, okay, Maharana ji, if you feel that way, then forget it. You go home just like that. So this Maharana, dressed like Maharana, he goes to the bus stand. And in the bus stand, he goes into a bus now to go to his home, right? He goes inside the bus. Then the conductor asks him, Maharana, कहाँ जाओगे? तो बोले चित्तौड़गढ़, of course. He says, okay, इतना टिकट पड़ेगा. Then give me the money, I'll give you the ticket. How come? How dare you ask for ticket from Maharana? Then the conductor says, it's difficult to argue with this fellow. He's too much drunk in his Maharana role. So he goes and tells the driver. The driver says, you be cool, don't worry. We'll figure it out. So then, in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere, total darkness, the bus stops. And then the conductor tells the Maharana, he says, Maharana ji, your stop has come. Now you get down. So the Maharana gets down. And then there is nobody around. It's total darkness. He gets scared. He asks the conductor, why have you dropped me here? There is nothing here. He says, no, Maharaji, this is Chittorgarh, stay here. After some time, your Chetak Ghoda will come and he will take you home. Then suddenly he remembers that, no, I'm not Maharana, I am ordinary, not even ordinary Rana. So this is how our story is. We get so engrossed in our role and we keep thinking that the role is real. The role is not real. The role is an assumed character we are playing. Whenever we are playing, we play that character well, but never forget who we are really. All right. So when we understand who we are, we will still continue to do the same things in the world, except we'll do them better and without getting attached to them. So Karma Yoga will start happening. Karma Yoga will not have to be done because there will be no Karta. Right? So karma will happen. All kinds of things will happen. But karma will not happen. Karma phala will not happen. Entanglement will not happen. Punarjanma will not happen. That's what will happen. So that's how we need to live in this world. We don't have to drop whatever we are doing. I'm an environmental engineer, so I do my environmental engineering consulting practice. I also run a very nice initiative called Satwa in Pune. It's actually online, but my partners happen to be two sisters in Pune. I don't know whether they are here or not. I told them, I'm doing this satsanga, but they listen from me so much all the time that, if they want to come, they can come. If they don't have to come, they can always see the recording. Or people who are not here, they can see the recording. But live interaction is always more fun. So those who are here, 47 people are here. Bag, Shilpa, कशी असते पुण्य? ही तुझी पुण्य आहे, माझी नाही आहे.
ऍक्च्युली माझी पण नाही, ती चंदनची. मी चंदनला सांगितलं, त्यांनी सगळं कोऑर्डिनेट केलं, अँड दॅट इज हाऊ इट इज.
Oh my God. So
थँक्यू
चंदन,
सो मच चंदन, थँक्यू सो मच.
आम्हाला पण दर्शन होऊ द्या चंदनचं.
चंदन अनम्यूट कर ना, तर आवाज आएगा. अनम्यूट कर.
स्पॉटलाइट कर ना, स्पॉट वर आण ना.
स्पॉटलाइट अनम्यूट कर इथे. हा, तुम्ही स्पॉटलाइट करा त्यांना. पण एनिवे, चंदन कम ओव्हर अँड देन वॉज इट गुड? सत्संग, इट वॉज वर्थ द टाइम यू स्पेंड. 9:30 ते 10:30 आपण जागलो हे सगळं ऐकण्यासाठी. वॉज इट वर्थ इट?
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. We heard your session on Saturday.
सॅटर्डे आम्ही दोघांनी अटेंड केलेलं तुमचं.
आय नो, ही आस्क्ड मी अ क्वेश्चन, सो अप्रिशिएट युअर इनिशिएटिव्ह की पुन्हा मला हे करायला सांगितलं आणि इतक्या सगळ्या लोकांना बोलवलं. मी पण पुष्कळ लोकांना पाठवलं होतं. सम ऑफ दीज पीपल हॅव ऍक्च्युअली कम, विच इज अ नाईस थिंग. सो डज एनीबडी एल्स हॅव एनी क्वेश्चन?
शिल्पा, रेकॉर्ड पाठवा ते सॅटर्डेचे.
हो. Shilpa has the recording link, so she should be able to send it to you.
Yes, she will send.
If anybody else has any questions, I think I'll take a few more questions.
Not question, but I like that butterfly का आपने जो दिया ना, 4 generation वो DNA से वो दूसरा देश में जाता है, ऐसा कुछ. It was the first time ये सुना, and it's very interesting to know more about that.
तो Wikipedia में देखो ना, all these things are available in Wikipedia. Okay. ये सब जानकारी जो है ना, जो जानकारी हमसे अन्य के बारे में होती है, वो सारी की सारी जानकारी हमको बंधन में डालती है. जितनी ज्यादा जानकारी होगी उतना ज्यादा आप बंधन में रहोगे. ऐसा है. ज्ञानेश्वर महाराज म्हणतात की ज्ञान हे बंधनाचं कारण आहे. कुठलं ज्ञान? अनात्मज्ञान. अनात्मज्ञान म्हणजे एनीथिंग वी नो ऑफ anything and everything which is other than ourselves, that knowledge will bind us. Okay, because the more number of things we know about, there is an invisible bond between us and that thing. Okay, and the more such bonds we have, the more bound we are by all these bonds, and then we cannot progress any further. The only thing worthy of knowing is my own self. Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyo vedantakrit vedavideva chaham. That is the 15th verse of the 15th chapter. If you want to understand the essence of all the Vedas, it's in this one verse. Okay, sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto matta smritir jnanam apohanancha vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyo Vedanta Krit Veda Videva Chaham. This is it. सर्वस्यच अहम, सगळीकडे मीच भरलेला आहे. हृदयसन्निविष्टो, तुझ्या हृदयाच्या अगदी जवळ आहे. तुझं हृदय मी आहे. मत्त स्मृतीर ज्ञानम अपोहनमच, म्हणजे माझ्यावर आधारित आहेत. स्मृती म्हणजे ड्रीम स्टेट, ज्ञानम म्हणजे वेकिंग स्टेट, अपोहनम म्हणजे डीप स्लीप स्टेट, च मीन्स समाधी स्टेट. All these 4 states are established in me. They come and go on me. Vedaishcha sarvairahameva vedyo. All of the Vedas are declaring unanimously that aham eva vedyo, I am the one, I am the only one worthy of knowing. Vedanta krut, I am the one who has created the Vedanta. Vedavid evacha aham. Vedavid means knower of Vedas. I am the only one who knows the Vedas. And who are we talking about? The true self. Okay, Krishna is saying that about himself, but as the true self. Okay, that true self is only one. You are that. Advaita is the only thought process or the only knowledge in the world that will declare unambiguously, unanimously, without any hesitation, emphatically, that you are divine. No other philosophy.
Does it really mean that Paramarth helps us to make our prapanch better?
Absolutely.
Does
yes.
it mean that?
Absolutely, yes. If we understand who we are, then we will do our prapancha very well, much more efficiently, without getting entangled. We will do what we need to do. We will do it as best as we can. We will be satisfied with what we have. We will not covet. We will not covet means we will not covet what is not ours. Asteya will happen automatically. So those things happen automatically.
समीर जी ना प्रश्न है. समीर जी, please raise your hand.
समीर मी प्रश्न विचारला नाही असा एकही वेबिनार माझा गेलेला नाही, त्यामुळे समीर शुड नॉट ब्रेक हिज रेकॉर्ड. गो हेड.
गुड इव्हनिंग दादा. माझे 2 प्रश्न आहेत. पण मी
एक करत घेऊ. मला एका वेळेस एक प्रश्न बरा वाटतो. 2 प्रश्न असले मी पहिला विसरून जातो, दुसऱ्याचं उत्तर देईन.
हा, नाही, मी आधी एक प्रश्न विचारेन, ते उत्तर मिळाल्यानंतर मी दुसरा प्रश्न विचारेन.
चालेल.
माझा असा प्रश्न आहे की अद्वैत वेदांत हे कोणासाठी आहे? असेच म्हणजे सगळ्या जगासाठी आहे का ज्या व्यक्तीला पुढे जायचंय त्याच्या म्हणजे स्पिरिच्युअल त्याला ऍडव्हान्स करायचं आहे त्याच्यासाठी आहे? कारण का जेव्हा कुरुक्षेत्रामध्ये जेव्हा अर्जुननी त्याचा धनुष्य खाली टाकला तेव्हा कृष्ण त्याला म्हणतो की तू हे बॅटलफील्ड सोडून जाऊ नाही शकत, तुला तो धनुष्य उचललाच पाहिजे आणि ते युद्ध केलंच पाहिजे, तरच या जगामध्ये पाप संपेल.
Correct. So let us take that question first. So I think you can stop here. So we'll take this up. Okay. आपल्याला अद्वैत जे आहे ते अल्टिमेट ऑब्जेक्टिव्ह आहे, त्याच्याकडे जायचंय. सो दॅट इज द डेस्टिनेशन. ठीक आहे ना? परंतु आपण सुरू कुठून करू? वी विल हॅव टू स्टार्ट फ्रॉम वेअर वी आर, इज इट नॉट? सो अर्जुन हॅपन टू बी इन देहबुद्धी. सो ॲज somebody who is established in the Dehabuddhi, you have to do karma. No escape. So as long as you are in Dehabuddhi, you will have to do karma. Okay. After you have done enough karma, that karma will clean your mind. Chitta shuddhi hote teni. ठीक है? Once your mind is clear, then you will take the next step. Okay. That is why Krishna will tell Arjun or has told Arjun that you have to fight, because you have not reached a stage where you can reach or understand Advaita. The thing is, there is nothing but Advaita. There is absolutely nothing but Advaita. Okay, even our ordinary day-to-day life is actually Advaita. We just don't understand it in this manner because our mind is so polluted. Our mind is so covered with all kinds of impurities that we don't see the life as Advaita as it is. That is why we have to, hey, karma, yoga, upasana, all of these are cleaning processes. सो हे क्लीनअप
पण असं
केल्याशिवाय
आहे,
तुम्हाला दिसेल कसं त्या पाण्याचं तळ? पाणी इतकं गढूळ झालेलं आहे की त्या गढूळ पाण्यामध्ये तुम्हाला काही दिसतच नाहीये, तळही दिसत नाही आणि त्याच्यामध्ये सूर्याचं प्रतिबिंब पडतंय ते पण दिसत नाहीये. तर तुम्ही ते पाणी
दादा
स्वच्छ तर
प्रश्न
करा.
हा नाहीये की आम्हाला दिसत नाही किंवा आम्हाला वाटतं की जग खरं आहे आणि त्याच्यामध्ये द्वैत आहे आणि आम्ही द्वैत हे असं दृष्टिकोन ठेवूनच आम्ही वागतो. प्रश्न असा आहे की आम्ही जेव्हा जगात वावरतो तेव्हा इतर लोक जे आहेत ते द्वैतामध्येच असतात. ते त्यांच्याशी आम्हाला झुंज द्यावी लागते, झगडावं लागतं, त्यांच्या सामोरे जावं लागतं.
हा,
तर मग तुम्ही पुन्हा त्या द्वैतामध्ये शिरतातच तुम्ही. यू कॅनॉट
हो ठीक
एस्केप
आहे.
दॅट.
शिरा
हा प्रश्न आहे.
द्वैतामध्ये देर इज ॲब्सोल्युटली नो प्रॉब्लेम इन लिव्हिंग इन
हा,
द्वैत. यू शुड लिव्ह इन द्वैत द वे यू नीड टू लिव्ह इन द्वैत. ओके,
हा,
सो व्हाईल यू आर
हा
इन
प्रश्न
द्वैत,
आहे.
you live in Dvaita, you fight, you love, you acquire things, you get rid of things, you do whatever you're required to do. So Arjun also had to ultimately kill Bhishmacharya and Dronacharya. No doubt, right? But you should do it without the karta bhav. That is what Bhagwan is telling you. You will ultimately, so there was this story about
म्हणजे
this Zen master.
असा प्रसंग त्यांनी आणलाच की आम्हाला ते झगडावं लागतं, मग झगडावं
हा,
लागेल
मग
म्हणजे
त्या
असं आहे का?
झगड्यामधनच तर आपल्याला कळेल की आपल्याला कुठे जायचं म्हणून.
हा,
That is
अच्छा.
why, if you don't understand this, if you don't believe in this, if you don't feel like doing this, you should absolutely not do this. I told in the very beginning, disclaimer, मी जे सांगतोय तुम्हाला पटावं अशी माझी अपेक्षा नाहीये. मी जे सांगतोय ते तुम्ही करावं असा माझा अजिबात आग्रह नाहीये. सगळ्यांना हे पटेल हे मला अजिबात वाटत नाही. तुम्हाला जे
नाही
पटेल ते
म्हणजे
तुम्ही करा.
असं आहे की अद्वैतामध्ये राहून पण तुम्ही कर्म करू शकता किंवा
हो,
तुम्हाला अलाउड आहे असं आहे का? असा
का
तो
नाही
प्रश्न आहे.
अलाउड आहे? अरे बघ ना, आपण आता गेले, यू हॅव नोन मी फॉर मोर दॅन अ इयर, राईट?
हा,
You have observed me from close distance, have you not?
करेक्ट,
You have seen me doing the sattva work, have you not?
करेक्ट.
त्या सत्वच्या कामामध्ये आपण काय कमी करतोय? आपण त्या सत्वच्या कामाच्या मधनं जे पैसे मिळतील त्यांनी मी बिल गेट्स होणार आहे वगैरे अशी माझी अपेक्षा आहे का? अजिबात नाही. झालं तर काय चांगली
हा
गोष्ट आहे.
म्हणजे
बिल गेट्सनी येऊन समजा आपल्याला $1 मिलियन देऊन टाकले, तर काय आनंद आहे. आम्ही घेऊन घेऊ ते. सो बट आय एम नॉट डुईंग इट फॉर दॅट. $1 मिलियन
हा,
जरी मिळाले तरी सुद्धा मी घास पुसत खात राहणार.
हो.
Okay, so it doesn't matter whether Bill Gates gives me enough money to be able to afford a 5-star lunch every day. I will still keep eating my own ghaspas.
पण नेसेसरी कर्म करताना असं तर नाही ना की आपण अद्वैत वेदांताच्या विरुद्ध जातोय, असं तर नाही ना?
नाही, अजिबात नाही.
म्हणजे
अद्वैत वेदांत
हा,
कर्माच्या विरुद्ध नाही रे बाबा.
हा,
अद्वैत वेदांत
हा प्रश्न होता.
कर्ता भावाच्या विरुद्ध आहे. तुम्ही कर्म करा, पण मी करतोय कर्म ही भावना नका ठेवू तुमच्यामध्ये. मी
हा,
करतोय ही भावना जर ठेवली तर मग काय होईल? आता ती तर गोष्ट सांगावीच लागेल आपल्याला. हे बघ, जी व्यक्ती तमोगुणी आहे, जी व्यक्ती दारू बिरी पिते, द वन हू इज ड्रिंकिंग ऑल द टाइम, स्मोकिंग ऑल द टाइम, eating tobacco products and womanizing and going to bars and all that, that person can become sane. He can quit all of that. The person who is a workaholic, works all the time, he can go join some meditation class, yoga class, he can calm down. Rajogun will be controlled. Tamogun will be discarded, Rajogun will be controlled. Now, I'm getting up every day at 4 o'clock, doing meditation. I'm doing my prayers. I'm eating only sattvic food. I'm following Dr. Dikshit. I'm eating only twice a day. I don't hurt anybody. I'm giving this satsanga. Okay. How is this person going to improve? Can you do anything to improve this person? No, impossible, because he's already improved. Then, how do you go beyond this sattva? If I do all these things and if I think that I am the one who is doing all these things, then I will get stuck in that sattva gun for infinite number of births and keep doing the same thing. There is no escape from this. I am doing all these things has to be dropped. Very, very subtle. सत्व गुणी आदमी को कैसे सुधारोगे? सुधारने के परे है वो, सुधार ही नहीं सकते उसको. हमको इन तीनों गुणों के परे जाना है. We have to go beyond these 3 gunas. That is what we need to do. That is total freedom. Otherwise, you'll get stuck in Sattva-gun. If you are stuck in an iron chain or a copper chain or a golden chain, chain is a chain. Sattva-guna is the golden chain. Don't get stuck there at all. Keep on doing what you need to do. Do it at ease. Enjoy it. That's all. Thank you. Shamala has another question, or she was, I don't know.
No, sir. I said, given the.
Thank you very much.
Nice.
Dada, it's just like that, na? It's just like that. As this sir had told, if you're selling a cloth in a shop, 200 rupees cloth, we are selling it for 400 rupees. It's a loss for that person. We are seeing about our profit. Okay. According to this person, it's Advaita. We are not मिस आपण त्यांचा प्रॉफिट बघत नाही, आपण आपला प्रॉफिट बघतोय. पण इथे आपण समजा आपला प्रॉफिट नाही बघितला, आपलं घर चालवणं गरजेचं आहे, म्हणून हे कर्म करायचं गरजेचं. मग त्यात चुकतं काय? काहीच चुकत नाही ना.
ठीक आहे ना, मग तसंच चालवायला पाहिजे. परंतु तुम्ही समजा इफ यू
ह्यांच्या बोलण्याचा अर्थ तोच वाटला मला, म्हणून विचारलं.
हा तर ठीक आहे. यू नो, सी, वी शुड डू व्हॉट वी थिंक इज राईट इन द वर्ल्ड. कीप ऑन डुईंग इट. ओके, बट ultimately whatever we earn at the end of the day, out of that, how much are we actually able to consume? And even that, how much of it are we able to take with us? Nothing. Isn't it? So
and if you think you're doing something, if you're doing, नाही आपण समजा कोणा फसवून तर करत नाही, आपण प्रॉफिट अर्निंग साठी बिझनेस करतो. समजा आपल्याला फिलिंग आलं की आपण कोणाचे नुकसान करतो, एवढं तर नुकसान नाही कर की त्यांना खूपच त्रास होईल. हा आपण डोनेशन केलं की तेवढी सॅटिस्फॅक्शन पण भेटते ना.
ठीक आहे ना, इट्स ओके. सी, दॅट इज व्हाय, सी, वी लिव्ह अवर लाईफ बेस्ड ऑन व्हॉट suits us, what is convenient for us. If we think that what we are doing is keeping us happy and keeping us in equilibrium, keeping us healthy, we should do that. If we think that what we are doing is not keeping us happy, or if we have reached the dead end of what we are pursuing, then come to Vedanta class. It's okay. Not everybody will come to Vedanta class. Not everybody will even want to understand this because they are enjoying it. You see, when the child is cranky, what will the mother do? You are a mother of 2 kids, right? So you will give the child a toy to play. The child will keep playing for a long time. Then after that, once he is tired of the toy, and if he keeps crying, and he is crying only for you, then you will leave whatever you are doing and go and try to find out. That is how God has given us all these toys to play with. So as long as we are busy playing with the toys, then he doesn't bother us. Then we have to really cry for him. No, we want you, not these toys.
And
then God will come.
then only he will take us.
एवढी भक्ती आहे का आपल्या हृदयामध्ये? आपण तर खेळण्यामध्ये दंग आहोत.
जगाचा पसारा बघण्यातच दंग आहोत.
हा, एक्झॅक्टली. सो दॅट इज हाऊ इट इज. जेव्हा कळतं की अरे ही खेळणी होती, हे सत्य नाही आहे, त्याच्यानंतर मग पलीकडचा प्रवास सुरू होतो. That's what happens. See, I have not seen any questions in the chat box. So Shilpa, if you think that some of the questions in the chat box need to be answered, I will answer them. I'll stay for another 10 more minutes. I think it's getting late back home also. So I don't want to...
Samir ji wanted to ask one more question. He has put that question.
Samir, you have another question? Samir, एक मिनिट थांब ना, आपण नंतर बोलूया. आणखीन कोणाला तरी विचारू दे प्रश्न.
Madhu,
going to tell a story about the Zen story.
हाँ, देखो कैसे पकड़ा. ऐसे चाहिए स्टूडेंट अपने को. वो टीचर ने कुछ प्रॉमिस किया और बताया नहीं स्टोरी. कहाँ भाग के जाते हो? बताओ. चलो देखो. तो ज़ेन स्टोरी ऐसा है कि ज़ेन मास्टर के पास a student went, and this student was doing laundry and cleaning up and cooking and all that in the monastery, right? So he did that for 2-3 years. Then he asked the master. He says, Master, what do we do when we get enlightened? The master says, after enlightenment, You do the laundry, you clean up, and you cook. You keep doing the same thing. Whether you are enlightened or not, you do the same thing, but you do it with a completely different attitude. See, even after enlightenment or even after understanding what Krishna wanted to explain to Arjun, the war happened. Arjun did exactly what he was saying that I will not do. He says, how can I kill my cousins? How can I kill my guru? How can I kill my father's uncle? He ended up doing exactly that. But he did that without the sense of doership. He dedicated the fruits of all of that actions at the feet of Lord Krishna. That is what happened. So if we dedicate the fruits of all of our actions at the feet of the Lord, you see, our attitude towards life should be like this. As we go to the temple and we get some prasad. So if we rush and go just before the temple is closing, then we are just happy that we at least went into the temple, right? Then the priest will give you some prasad. So only the last little bit is left over. So you get only this much prasad. So you are happy that you have at least got some prasad. Okay. Now, once we get the prasad, we don't complain to the priest that, mere ko itna hi mila. Why did I get only so much? No, whatever I've got, I'm happy with it. Then I don't complain that Maharaj, ye halwe mein jara chini kam ho gayi. The prasad is not sweet enough. We don't complain like that, right? And even if I have got only a little, I will share some of that with somebody else also. Our attitude towards life has to be like this. I have somehow entered the temple means I have been born as a human being, right? Then I've got some prasad. So whatever life I have got, I'm happy. All my five senses are functioning. My mind is functioning. I'm not insane. Just imagine not everybody has all five senses. There are so many people who don't have five senses. There are so many people who don't have a sane mind, isn't it? So I'm already blessed. Then I have enough food to eat. I have good clothes to wear. I have a good house in which I can live. Again, blessed. So very blessed. Then whatever I can do to help others, I will do. That I'll share my prasad. So I should be always satisfied with the position I'm in life. So material things I should be satisfied about. Samadhan. We heard Samadhan twice, right? We heard Santosh and we also heard Samadhan. So that has to be there for whatever we have in our life, material things. If we live our life in this manner, then our life will become worthy of living as a human being. Otherwise, right now we are living worse than animals, right? This story I have to tell every time I do a webinar. In the animal kingdom, there is no gluttony. They don't eat more than necessary. There is no hoarding. They don't collect things more than necessary. And thirdly, there is no exploitation or rape. So a few months ago, there was a video went viral where the little frog gets stuck in the cobweb and the spider releases him because the spider cannot eat him because the frog is too toxic for him. No exploitation, no rape. As long as Homo sapiens, human beings, are doing these three things, human beings cannot be called as animals. So when these three things disappear from our mind, when we don't even think of these things, then we become proper animals. And then we have to start becoming human beings. How do we become human beings? By contemplating on these things. We really become human beings by understanding that this body is made of Mother Earth. Every molecule in my body has come from the Mother Earth. So my body has come out of the womb of the Mother Earth. So Earth is our common mother, everybody. And this piece of Earth is talking to you because of the energy that animates each one of us, and that energy is the same. That is the life energy, Prana Shakti. So my mother is Earth, your mother is Earth. My father is Prana Shakti, father life, and your father is also Prana Shakti, father life. So if we have a common mother and a common father, that makes us real brothers and sisters. not the sentence in our anthem which says, I am an Indian and all Indians are my brothers and sisters. We only say that, but we never really understand it in this manner. Only when we understand this truth in this manner, can we understand why and how Jnaneshwar Maharaj says, He Vishwachi Maze Ghara or Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Because I have understood that I am a product, I am the son of the soil, and Father life is animating life in me, in you, and in every living entity, including that E. coli. तो वैश्वानर एकच आहे सगळ्यांमध्ये. असं जेव्हा सगळ्या जीवांचं ऐक्य होतं तेव्हा भूता परस्परे पडो मैत्र जीवांचे असं ज्ञानेश्वर महाराज म्हणतात. So all of us, all living entities are siblings. Then what will happen? I will never exploit any other animal, let alone another human being. That will be the worst kind of life, isn't it? So once I live in this awareness, I become a true human. While we are in this human body, we should live like a human being, act like a human being, and ultimately realize who we are. That is the purpose of human life. Vedaishta sarvair ahamev vedyo. मी कोण आहे? मला स्वतःला ओळखायचं आहे. When I understand myself in this manner, then दुःख निवृत्ती होतेच होते. All miseries, all sorrow goes away instantaneously at one shot. Okay? And there is Nirankusha Trupti. That's the ultimate grand prize. Nirankusha Trupti means there is such contentment that my life is completely fulfilled. The last verse of the 15th chapter, Bhagavan says, Iti guhyatamam shastram idam uktam maya nagha etad buddha buddhiman syat kritakrityascha bharata. So this feeling of kritakrityata I will get in my life while I am in this body. I wish and pray that all of us reach that state in this life, in this body.
I think
Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om.